Welcome to a new video and a new camera comparison, this time around the Magic 7 Pro versus the Oppo Find X8 Pro. This is the global version versus the Chinese version, so let's get started. Bit of a grayish day here in Cologne, Germany again. And yeah, we want to check out those two here. Quadruple lens setup, 50 megapixel on the Oppo Find X8 Pro, and we have a triple lens setup on the Honor Magic 7 Pro, consisting of a 50 megapixel ultra wide angle, 50 megapixel main, and the highlight, the 200 megapixel periscope zoom camera there. Very large sensor, 101.4 inch size sensor, and we also have some front facing shooters. And I think we start off with the front-facing video. Front-facing video here on the Magic 7 Pro. This one should have autofocus, I think. So I'll be able to focus here. Not sure if it's really doing it. At least I hope it has autofocus. 4K 30 and 4K 60 frames per second are possible here. 0.8 time magnification is the default, but we can also go to 1 times magnifications, which looks like this. So what do you think about this one here? Yeah, it's a bit of a grayish day, so not much of an HDR effect that you will see here on this one. What do you think about the quality here, stabilization, colors, and so on? 4K 30, but also up to 4K 60 frames per second here on the Oppo Find X8 Pro. So what do you think about this one here? We don't have any zoom in or zoom out buttons for that matter, but I think the default view that we have here is quite wide, very comparable to the 0.8 times that we have on the Honor Magic 7 Pro. So what do you think about this one here in terms of colors? HDR is not so much to see here, stabilization and so on. So yeah, which one is performing better in terms of front-facing camera? 4K 30 and 4K 60, up to 4K 60 is the maximum resolution and frame rate that you can get here on the Magic 7 Pro. This is the main camera sensor here. It's the same as the predecessor, so not the largest camera sensor here, but you get a little bit of a bokeh thanks to a very large aperture, and the variable aperture as well can go down to f2. Can go to the ultra wide angle here during recording, of course, 0.6 times. And here, what do you think about this one here? By default, the main camera sensor is usually recording at f2, so this is why I see the aperture quite closed. And then we have 2.6 times zoom as well, which is a 200 megapixel periscope zoom. So let's try to zoom in on something like the rooftop there. 2.6 times. Switch lenses, and we can go in even further, up to 10x zoom, which is the maximum that you can have here on the Magic 7 Pro. Let's maybe zoom in on Timmy down here, 10x. So what do you think about the quality here? And let's go back to 1x. That switched quite dramatically, or zooming out smoothly. Now recording with the Oppo Find X8 Pro, the main camera sensor here is as large as the periscope, the telezoom that we have on the Magic 7 Pro. So quite interesting here. We don't have variable aperture, but we have 4 lenses. So 4K 30, 4K 60 is the maximum in terms of resolution and frame rate. I'm recording 4K 30 because I have a 30 timeline here. Can go to the ultra wide angle there, 0.6 times I think it is. It's pretty wide as well. So what do you think about this one here? And yeah, it's doing also a good job, I think, in terms of stabilization and colors, even in this like not so sunny kind of day, but a bit more dim lit situation. We have 2 periscope zooms, so let's try to zoom in 3x here, switch lenses hopefully, and then we can go to 6x, switch lenses as well, and we can zoom in. This is now 10 times. But we can also go maximum 18 times here, which is like one of an advantage that we have over the Magic 7 Pro. And then we can go to 1x, as you can see here, smoothly zooming in and smoothly zooming out. Where's Timmy? Timmy hiding there in the background. Let's go 6x directly. Let's see if we can get him in terms of detail level there. This is 10x. And we can go up to 18x there. I think the Find X8 Pro is doing quite a good job, even though the sensors are a little bit smaller than the one on the Magic. So what do you think about this one here? Front-facing video. What we can see here is the Magic 7 Pro has a bit of a narrow field of view by default, and we also have a bit of more warmish yellowish colors, where the Oppo Find X8 Pro has more natural colors, to be completely honest. And when we play this back, you will see that in terms of stabilization, everything is nice and dandy. The Honor Magic 7 Pro has a bit of more sharpened up look, doesn't have autofocus. The Magic 6 Pro still had autofocus, but the Magic 7 Pro for some reason omits this. The Find X8 Pro has also got nice stabilization, doesn't over sharpen my face so much as the Magic 7 Pro does. It doesn't feature autofocus on the Find X8 Pro as well. At least I don't remember seeing autofocus there on this one. We have a wider field of view by default on the Oppo, but the Magic can zoom in 1x, where on the Oppo I don't have this button at all for doing this. Does it help the Magic 7 Pro? Actually not. The 1x looks not so great because it's like, again, you see even more the over sharpened kind of look there. Otherwise, in terms of stabilization, it's doing a fine job. Slightly sometimes out of focus as well. So they're having some issues there, even though there's no autofocus with, I think, this 1x there. I think they should have autofocus again on the Magic series. And yeah, in general, I think I prefer the Find X8 Pro's front-facing video. What do you think? Main camera video footage, what we can see here is basically both having the same kind of field of view. Maybe there's a millimeter difference just like with the photos, but we can see a much more warmer yellowish and punchy colors on the Magic 7 Pro. Look at the green there in the background and compare it with the Oppo, which has much more natural colors, a bit cooler colors, but much more natural on the Find X8 Pro. When it comes to sharpness, again, just like with the selfies, the Magic 7 Pro is overdoing it a little bit there with the sharpness, I would say. I think the Magic 6 series had the right amount of sharpness, very comparable to the Find X8 Pro, but they tuned the sharpness a little bit to be up here on the Magic 7 Pro. This is why everything is a bit sharpened up. It's a bit more natural on the Find X8 Pro. Interestingly enough, when we look at the bokeh, for example, this is at f2, of course, because the Honor is like usually recording at f2 and not opening up the aperture. So you can open up the aperture even further if you want to in Pro mode, but this is not the case. This is the Honor. Let's compare it to the Oppo. You can see there's not much of a difference in terms of the bokeh with both. And when we let them play, you can see both very, very stable there. I like the stability on both here. In terms of audio, I think the Find X8 Pro has a little bit worse audio, even though I'm using the same mic there. The Magic 7 Pro is a bit better there. But the white balance is much nicer. When you look at the bokeh now, let's check it out now. I think, yes, maybe a slightly bit better on the Magic 7 Pro. Find X8 Pro a little bit worse there. But let's go further to the ultra wide angle. Let's see the switch of the ultra wide angle on both. They can see a dramatic difference there. First of all, the Magic 7 Pro has this where this looks more natural color, and then it switched to the same color that we had basically with the main camera sensor. We don't have this on the Find X8 Pro. When I switch lenses, you can see the colors are almost the same. Duller colors for sure on the Find X8 Pro, but more realistic as well. Wider field of view on the Magic 7 Pro, which I like. In terms of detail level there, it is getting much softer than the main camera sensor, and you noticed it. The Find X8 Pro is also a little bit softer than the main sensor, but it's not dramatically softer. However, you can see that sometimes it's a bit out of focus. And this is, I think, an issue there that the ultra-wide angles both have, that I'm not always in focus there. Sometimes the background is in focus. For the ultra-wide angle, it's not so dramatic because you don't see so much, but still, it's a difference. Here the white balance is much better on the Find X8 Pro. I don't like this like way too yellow and greenish kind of on the Magic 7 Pro. Let's go and see the zoom. This is now the zoom. Let's go this. Yes, it's 3x zoom, and this should be also 2.5 times zoom, I think it is, on the Magic 7 Pro. Here we can see again the white balance difference, a bit warmer on the Magic 7 Pro. In terms of detail levels here, this is what it looks on the Magic 7 Pro. And this is how it looks like on the Oppo. I think the Oppo has an advantage there. And when we zoom in even further there, you can see it's a bit steppy, the zoom there on the Magic 7 Pro, and can go only to 10 times. You can go to 6 times first of all on the Find X8 Pro, and then to 10 times. And when we compare this with this, we can clearly see again an advantage of the Oppo. Not only shows it a little slightly blue here instead of like this black that we have on the Magic 7 Pro, which is, it is a little bit more bluish than blackish, and a little bit more details here with raised shadows. This is one advantage. The other advantage it has on the Oppo is that you can go even 18 times. So yes, the second optical zoom is really doing its thing. And the other thing is, like when I go here to Magic 7 Pro to 1x, you can see how smoothly the Find X8 Pro was doing this. And this is what the Magic does. So the Magic to 1x, it just, instead of zooming out smoothly, it just switched lenses. And here, when I go to 1x, you will see that it will smoothly zoom out, which is also an advantage that I saw on the Find X8 Pro in comparison to the Magic 7 Pro. All, by the way, with the latest software as of the 18th of February, where this has been recorded. So yeah, overall video I think is a win for the Oppo. We start off with the selfie photos here, and I have some information put in here because on the selfies the watermark on the Honor is not working. So we have 25mm f2 apparently here, and ISO 160, where we have 21mm here, a bit wider, f4.5 on the Oppo. When we take a look at them side by side, what we can see is, first of all, both struggle a little bit with the cutouts there, and I think the Oppo maybe a little bit more. As you can see, it's blurring out parts of the hair, which yeah, shouldn't be blurred out, and it's sharpening up the rest, which is like also not so great. In terms of sharpening and sharpness effect, let's zoom out a little bit there. Also, what we can see here, we have 37 versus 12.6 megapixels. So this is the big difference there that we can see. So we have pixel binning on the Honor for sure. It is appearing to be a bit sharper on the Oppo, and I think I like the Oppo a bit more, though I think the eyebrows are way too artificial on the Oppo and much more natural on the Honor, but the eyes are much clearer on the Oppo, even though it's like definitely doing some sharpening there. So yeah, which one is your winner here in this term? What do you think? Also, like the background blur, how well are they doing this here? I think both are doing a fine job, apart from maybe the cutouts not being perfect. This is 6 times zoom on, is it 6 times? Actually 300 divided 23, 13 times zoom it is. Not, it's using the 6 times zoom lens on the Oppo, and it's using the crop of the 200 megapixel, and roughly the same. And what we can see here is that in first glance warmer picture on the Oppo, a bit cooler on the Honor. When we go in 100%, what we can clearly see is that the Honor has a bit more detail. Look at the little detail on the piece of paper there. That is simply gone on the Oppo, and everything else there is pretty much clear. But as you can see here, so you can read everything, but as you can see here, like I said, the detail level on the Honor is on another planet in comparison to the Oppo. So yes, the Honor is winning there with this close-up shot for sure. Also here down below the QR code, you can see it's a bit clearer on the Honor than on the Oppo. Another shot, portrait shot this time around. This is why we have the hardcore portrait mode here. Sadly, it's not printing out by default the options there, but it's roughly also 73, 72 millimeters. We can check it in the metadata. 72 millimeters here, f4 that we have here, ISO 50. So pretty much comparable to the one that we have on the Oppo. Telephoto lens shot. Much more contrast on the Honor. less contrast and less sharpness. Apparently it failed to focus on Timmy and was focusing here. Yes, it's a portrait mode, so you should do it with human subjects and not with dogs. But yeah, this is what you can expect here in terms of portrait shots. Now a little zoom shot. This is 6x on both, 135mm on the Oppo and 144 on the Honor. Both feature 6x zoom lens. We can see again much warmer on the Oppo, much cooler on the Honor. The Honor also has a bit more contrast. So when we go in 100% here, you can see much more contrast down below here and a bit more lifted shadows on the Oppo. In terms of sharpness and detail level, I think the Oppo is doing a slightly bit better. It is not so sharpened up as on the Honor. When we go towards the side, it also becomes clear that there is a little bit more details on the Oppo. Look at the gate here, or the fence on the top of the water tower. You can see those individual kind of bars, where here sometimes you can see them, other times they're a bit blurry and you're not so visible. You can see also the contrast difference there and color difference, where it is much more punchy looking on the Honor in comparison to the Oppo. The Oppo much more natural, maybe not so detailed as the Honor here, but much more natural looking there. And the same goes for everything else, which is like a little bit over sharpened, has some white lining around here, where here on the Oppo it doesn't have so much. Then this here, in comparison to this here, this is gray, this is white. I think the contrast levels are so different on the Honor that it is like also struggling with HDR there a little bit. When we zoom in even further, 3net times here, this is which 13 times I think on the Oppo, and it's another one I think 12 point something times on the Honor Magic 7. These are the steps that you can check when you are like pulling both zoom levels there. This is what you get with the Honor. This is what you get with the Oppo. Yeah, Oppo is a bit more zoomed in for sure. Detail level and cleanliness. You can see that the Honor appears to be a bit more cleaner, a bit more sharpened up for sure, but also I think has a little bit more detail. Look at this here, for example, and compare it with this. Also up here, I think the Honor has a little bit more detail at this point there. When we zoom even further, then the AI will kick in 720 times on the Magic, which is, because they use now 24mm, is 30 times zoom, and it should be then 600, what is it, 675 divided by 23, also roughly 30 times zoom. Now both use the AI. You have, or actually the Oppo is using it automatically, you have to do it manually on the Oppo. So first shot is without AI. This is what you get with the with the AI. You can see, yes, the Oppo is doing much better there, and it's much noisier and not so detailed there on the Honor in comparison to the Oppo. You can see the details here, for example. But we can go to AI, we can enable AI, and then it becomes only slightly better, as you see here. So I still think the Oppo has an edge over the Honor in terms of more zoom range. So if you zoom in even further, you can see here, and now it's compared without the AI. Maybe it's even doing a little bit better there without the AI than with the AI, as you see here. So, but the Oppo is clearly winning in these extreme situations where you zoom in even further. And actually this was with the AI, I think. The AI is a bit less reliable on the Honor for sure, but I think this is now with the AI. At least it's sharpening up as hell, but doesn't have more detail than the Oppo. You can see it here on the stone, for example, which is completely smoothened out. It's straightening and sharpening everything up there towards the side, but still, it is a win for the Oppo for sure. Ultra wide angle here, we can see a bit warmer exposure on the Magic, a bit more punchy colors again, but we can also see 12mm versus 15mm, so we get a wider field of view on the Magic 7 Pro for sure. And this helps, of course, with more dramatic kind of views and to get more in the shot. As you can see here, the difference in terms of colors, also the terms of difference in terms of detail levels. So the 50mm gives us more detail in the bush here, for example, which is a bit blurry already, but therefore we have a little bit wider field of view for sure as well. In terms of colors, we have a more red punchy colors on the Honor, which is not so realistic. The Oppo is doing much more better job there when it comes to this. The Honor has to sharpen up a little bit there in order to get things sharp, where the Oppo is also doing this, but doesn't have to do so much there. Both have underexposure here, so issues with detecting what it is actually there. And here it's getting a bit brighter and a bit wider because of like what the Honor has. The blue side here looks more realistic on the Honor, where here's a bit overexposed on the Oppo. So I would give this the win to the Magic 7 Pro. Not because of the colors being more realistic, I think they're a bit less realistic in most parts, but because of the wider field of view that really helps with the dramatic view. Main camera sensor here, both very equal, 24 versus 23mm. Yes, Honor switched from 27 to 24mm as default. Has a variable aperture, but mostly sticks to the f2 here. Very, very similar, much warmer kind of picture on the Oppo again, a bit cooler on the Honor. Honor was set to its original profile. What is it called? Not original color profile, or it's not the vivid one, the default one. It is the natural kind of profile that they have there to get more natural colors. You can see it's a bit sharpened up, but it's also a bit sharper in general here, where here it's a lot softer actually on the Oppo. So on the main sensor, we have a little bit of an advantage of the Honor being a bit sharper. And this is throughout the frame, but also the contrast level is a bit higher. So this might be like a bit of a placebo effect that we can see here, just because the contrast is getting a bit higher or the sharpness has been, sharpening has been raised. But overall, very, very comparable here, both of them. Just look at the text here, it's a little bit less contrasty on the Oppo, and therefore you have some difficulties reading this here. And actually I think I see some noise even, which is not visible so much on the Oppo. Another shot, TV, 72 versus 73mm. Not using the portrait mode, just in whole mode. And what I noticed here again is that the Magic 7 Pro looks a bit artificial. Look at here. Look at the bokeh being very, very busy. It's not much better on the Oppo actually. It's a bit brightened up, not so contrasty on the Oppo. Both have this worm effect here. Doesn't look so great. Warmer colors again on the Oppo, a bit cooler on the Honor. And the rest very comparable here. So yeah, the big advantage that the Honor has with its larger sensor, they're not really using it apparently. At least not at the 73 or 72 millimeters. Main camera sensor, again, much more contrasty on the Honor, much more yellowish on the Oppo. When we look at the birdhouse here, for example, much warmer on the Oppo. I think I'm leaning towards what the Honor is doing here in terms of colors. The rest in terms of detail level and so on, not much of a difference. Also the bush here. Yeah, a bit warmer again on the Oppo. Detail levels, not much of a difference. Also here the roof, besides the color difference here, I don't see much of a detail difference there. So there's not much of a detail difference between those two, even though the sensor is a bit larger on the Honor for sure. Maybe a tiny bit softer on the Oppo and a bit more contrasty on the Honor, but that's it in terms of main camera sensor. So very comparable. This is a 3x crop, not 3x crop, it's a 3x zoom on both, focusing on the bird food here. And again, a bit lifeless on the Honor. It's overdoing it with the contrast, especially when you look at the background here, because this is not really black. This here is a bit more realistic on the Oppo, but it's also a bit too black because it's not really black. What we have there is a bit more going to the darkish brown kind of color. A bit more punchy colors, the green here, a bit more signaling green, where here it's a bit more duller looking. And then if you look at the detail level here, I think the Oppo is winning here in terms of detail. I'm not sure if it's the close focusing distance issue on the Honor. It was confirming the focus, but it is much more detailed looking the bird food here on the Oppo. And the bokeh on both looks very, very similar, very busy. Not so nice, I have to say, not so creamy as you would like to have it. So which one would you give it here to? I'm leaning towards the Oppo. A bit further zoom, this is now 6x zoom on both. They have dedicated 6x zoom button. And this is what the Honor produces, this is what the Oppo produces. First glance is very comparable, but when on second glance, when you look at it, you can see it's a bit artificial looking on the Honor already. And especially here when it comes to the rooftop, much more realistic looking. Look at the dirt spots here, for example, bird poop or something. Much nicer, much more realistic looking on the Oppo, where it is like artificially looking already on the Honor, which is a little bit of a downside when it comes to this. Also the solar panels here, you can see the lines very clear on the Oppo, where here it is having a bit of a moire effect eventually on the Honor. So a little bit of an... So let's take a look at another photo, the ultra wide angle, where we can see the wider field of view of 12 millimeters. Again on the Magic 7 Pro, we can also see the higher contrast. This is why it's dark here, and it's not so dark here on the Oppo. And the same goes for the rest of here, where we can see there's a bit more detail on the Oppo. So yes, the Oppo has a bit of narrow field of view, but a little bit more details. This is like typical for the ultra wide angle there. So if you have a wider field of view, you usually have to sharpen up a little bit more to get to the same detail level. Otherwise we see the same color, yeah, changes, a bit cooler on the Honor, a bit warmer on the Oppo. Timmy here at 6x photographed, as you can see here, both doing a fine job, but I think that it is a bit better done on the Oppo there in terms of detail levels and green grass. You can see here where he is a bit already busy and having some issues of the Honor. So we're reaching the maximum there in terms of optical zoom on the Magic pretty quickly. In terms of bokeh here, we have the larger sensor on the Magic 7 Pro, even though it's keeping the f-stop number usually at f2, even in this like darker conditions there. Where here we have f1.6, which is pretty wide aperture, wide open aperture, but we have a smaller kind of sensor. But nevertheless, in terms of detail level here, both very, very good. You can see a little bit more finer details on the Honor maybe than on the Oppo, especially on this little lamp here. And when it comes to the bokeh, however, very, very similar. There's maybe a tiny bit less bokeh on the Oppo, but it's very, very similar. Not much of a difference between those two, I have to say. Macro photography, on the first glance, the Oppo is winning here with a very close-up shot with 73mm. On the Honor, I tried 6x to get roughly this close. I couldn't get as close as I wanted to, and you can see the detail level is nowhere near what the Oppo is capturing. This little hair here, for example, on the top of the pan. The ball of the pan is visible at 100%. We're here. Yes, also, but it is a bit of an issue there. The background is more sharp than the actual subject that I wanted to photograph. I can get 235mm, so 6x as well on the Oppo, but it's getting a bit worse, even though there's a bit of hair there, but the other hair is like gone. So yeah, a bit of detail is lost and won. This is 45mm. If you use a dedicated macro mode on the Magic 7 Pro, so not the automatic one, you get much more details there, and then it's now more comparable to what we have here, and yeah, very, very comparable. But I would say in terms of macro photography, maybe a slight edge to the Find X8 Pro because it's a bit easier there. Now let's go to portraits. This is again hardcore portrait mode. I used not the default vivid one, I used the classic one of hardcore here. And this is 3x on both, even though it doesn't state anything here. Again, what we see here is interesting of the hardcore portrait mode is a bit more yellowish, the colors there, but when I go to 100% view, you can clearly see it is like overdone everything, like it's overcooking my face with sharpness and trying to add details there, which just looks ugly at 100%. And it's like, look at the hair, compare it with the Oppo. The Oppo is much more natural there. Not only the face color is not so much yellow, it's a bit more reddish there, but also the hair, much more natural looking on the Oppo. Then also the hardcore is failing in terms of the portrait effect, where it's sharp, even though it was not on the same level, so it was a little bit more behind. Yeah, something clearly the Oppo does better. When we go to 135mm, so there's like 6 times portraits and 6 times portrait here, becomes more apparent that we have much more sharpening, much more contrast applied on the hardcore powered Honor, where here it's not so sharp anymore on the Oppo, but I still prefer the Oppo for being much more natural, not so, look at this yellow and this black contrast there, it's like just way too much. Look at the hair, the details there. Yeah, much better on the Oppo. And then we have, this is 48, so 2x zoom on both here, which I think is 50mm on the Magic 7 Pro. Interesting is the color difference here. You can see here much more punchy color, here less punchy color, but still it managed to make my face a bit more yellow. And if you compare them, both are redrawing my face a little bit there and trying to optimize it, but more natural it looks on the Oppo for sure, where here like the eyebrows are fake, the eyes are so fake on the Honor that it like looks almost yeah, creepy. Hair color much better I think on the Oppo, and I think the sharpness and details there are also much better on the Oppo, which is quite interesting because we have the smaller sensor and it's cropping in, but the Oppo is preserving more details there. So in terms of portraits, it's a clear win for the Oppo. Yes, the Honor has improved upon what the Magic 6 series has done with the hardcore portrait mode, and it's giving you a bit more stylized portraits there, but I still don't like them. They're still, in terms of detail levels and everything else, not the best. So these are the photos here at daylight. So what do you think about them? I think the main camera sensor is almost identical there, with a slight edge sometimes to the Magic 7 Pro, ultra wide angle slight edge to the Magic 7 Pro, telezoom slight edge to the Find X8 Pro, and yeah, portraits definitely win for the Find X8 Pro for sure. And yeah, what is your opinion? Write it down in the comment section. Now I'm recording with the Magic 7 Pro main camera sensor, and probably the aperture wide open here, and we don't have a night mode like in the past versions. Magic 6 Pro, I remember there was a night mode, a little moon symbol that I could click for getting into the night mode, but it's not there anymore. So now with the lights behind me, how well does it do, and yeah, how well is the stabilization, colors and so on, exposure on the Magic 7 Pro. So what do you think about the night performance here? Internal mics, by the way. I'm recording with the Oppo Find X8 Pro main camera sensor here. We have a little bit of a smaller sensor here. We don't have a variable aperture, but we have I think a wider aperture by default, and no dedicated night video mode here. We're just using 4K 30 normally. Internal mics, standing under the light here right now. What do you think about this one when I'm walking away from the light? How well does it handle the exposure here? And how well is the stabilization? And now I'm turning towards the light. What do you think about this Find X8 Pro? Nighttime photos, as you can see here, the ultra wide angle is the one we begin with. The Oppo Find X8 Pro, again, a narrow field of view, 50mm, but a bit brighter than the bit darker Magic 7 Pro, especially like towards the edges. You can see it's getting a little bit darker. Look at this wall here and compare it with this. But when we zoom in, you can see that clearly there has some, the Oppo has some issues there. Probably 1/7 of a second was a bit of a stretch, even though 1/6 of a second here on the Magic 7 Pro. So both kicked in nighttime, but either I was like a bit too impatient, or it had some issues with getting all the details in here. At least you can see that here we have a wider field of view on the Oppo, on the Honor actually, and the Honor is winning against the Oppo in terms of detail level as well, because of the shakiness of this ultra wide angle there. Main camera sensor, very, very close together. There's just nuances in terms of differences. Both have a little bit of flaring issue. If you go in here, you can clearly see that there's a bit of better HDR on the Honor, and the same you can see here on this slide. There's a bit overblown on the Oppo, but it's slightly, it's very, very slightly only. When you look at the detail levels here, on both, very comparable. Again, a bit, I think, warmed up on the Oppo. It's a bit cooler on the Honor, like we saw in daylight. I think this number is a bit clearer on the Oppo than on the Honor. It's a bit brightened up there for sure. And here the car looks almost identical on both, as well as the HDR here. And here you can see slightly again HDR better on the Honor in comparison to the Oppo, but very, very close. Like daylight, I would say the main camera sensor is almost the same. Not much of a difference there. I would give them the same points probably. Now 3x zoom, and one would think that the Magic 7 Pro should win against the Oppo, especially at night time, because we have a much larger sensor, 1.4-inch size sensor than on the Oppo. But when we zoom in, we don't see much of an advantage here on the Honor. Actually, they look pretty similar in terms of detail levels here, the text. In terms of like the exposure here, I would even give it to the Oppo, where the Honor is a bit overexposed. In terms of detail level, maybe also slightly towards the Oppo. The rest is almost the same. Like if when you look at the other side here, maybe a bit sharper here on the Honor, but it's like so close together that it doesn't make much of a difference. What about 6x? This is 6x now, and I don't see much of a difference here either, to be completely honest. It's very, very close together. You can see both are recreating the signs and the text a little bit there. Both fail almost at the same times. Look at this here, for example, or the text of the parking sign there. So not much of a difference, is there? There is a bit of a difference here. We can see that I think the Honor has a slight advantage. It has some weird processing of the Edeka logo there, but you can see that here this Bush logo, for example, is clearly readable on the Honor, which is a bit harder on the Oppo. And also the easy, what is it, easy fitness, easier to read on the Honor than on the Oppo. So there's a slight difference there, visible at 6x. If we zoom in even further, this is 450 times versus 480 times, which is I think 480 times, I think it should be 20 times zoom. Yes, it's 20 times zoom on both, and here the Magic completely fails. It also didn't give me the AI option that I usually get when I'm zooming in a bit further, but you can clearly see without zooming in already that it's much worse than what the Oppo is producing. So when it comes to longer zoom ranges, the Oppo is simply winning at night time easily against the Honor, which is surprising because the Honor has this larger sensor, but we have the longer reach on the Oppo, and that shows here the optical zoom is winning against the digital one. Even though you can see also like it's brightening everything up there, it's not doing a good job on the Honor. Selfie, when you switch to the Selfie, both illuminate the screen, but the Magic goes into portrait mode. The Find X8 Pro apparently not in nighttime. So this is the difference there, and you can see I like the Magic 7 Pro's bokeh balls. It's just like fantastic in comparison. Yeah, it's a bit blurry here on the Oppo as well. We have to zoom out a little bit because we have 32 megapixels there, we have only 12 here. So let's compare it here side by side. The only big difference is it's a bit wishy-washy here, so it's not 100% like it's taking a night photo on the Oppo. The eyebrows are not so much recreated and dark and contrasty as on the Honor, but I think this is a clear win for the Honor. Let's go further. Both now in portrait mode with the bokeh balls. Again, the bokeh balls on the Magic look much nicer as on the Oppo. You can see the Oppo has some weird like stepping here for some reason. It's a bit brighter as well here, and they both have like in this situation like creating like a shiny thing around my face. When we go into detail levels here, again I think that when I zoom out like this, a more contrasty look on the Honor and a little bit more realistic look on the Oppo there. So very, very close together. I think in general the Honor is doing a slightly bit better than the Oppo there in terms of selfies here. What do you think? What is your opinion about those? Pretty good both, I think, in terms of selfies here. And you can see now the Honor is also showing the watermark. I'm not sure what was wrong in my first pictures. Probably there was the watermark turned off or something like this, or I had to turn it on for the selfies as well. 25 millimeters at least versus 21 millimeters, so the Oppo looks a bit wider for sure. That is something that the Oppo is going for it. Otherwise, you can see the Magic has ISO 3200, where here we have 6400 already. So that might also be an indicator that the Honor is handling this low light situation a bit better. And that's it in terms of low light. So what do you think? Ultra wide angle is, I think, going to the Magic 7 Pro just like in daylight. Main camera sensors are the same, and the zoom is basically identical, 3 at 6x. With maybe a slight edge towards the Honor, but then as soon as you zoom in further, the Oppo is just beating the Honor, because the Honor's AI is not kicking in at night and it's not able to recreating stuff. And the Oppo is doing this apparently is one thing, and the other thing is like it has this 6 times optical zoom that if you have enough light, it will kick in and give you way better results when you zoom in even further, like than 20 times or 10 times, let's say it like this. So these are my results for the nighttime. What do you think? Let's come to the ranking and conclusion. TLDR, the Oppo Find X8 Pro gets 4.482 points, where the Magic 7 Pro gets 4.445 points. So the winner here is the Oppo Find X8 Pro. Where are the big differences? Main camera photo quality was a back and forth. Sometimes the Magic 7 Pro at daylight was a bit better, but at nighttime it was equaling themselves out. Yes, slightly better HDR, maybe on the Magic 7 Pro, but it is equaling themselves out, 4.8 points on both. The ultra wide angle was slightly better on the Honor Magic 7 Pro. It has a wider field of view with 12 millimeters. It's not always the sharpest here and there, and I don't like the colors being a bit too yellow. This is why we only have 4.3 points, but it is an improvement also in comparison to the predecessor, and it's a slightly bit better than the Find X8 Pro. Zoom camera photo quality, however, is not really better than the Oppo Find X8 Pro. Here the Oppo Find X8 Pro, at least when it comes to, when it comes to the further zoom ranges like 10x, 20x, 30x, is winning against the Magic 7 Pro. Even with the Magic 7 Pro's AI enabled, it looks more fake than what the Oppo Find X8 Pro is producing there. So the longer zoom ranges is a win for the Find X8 Pro. But in the zoom camera photo quality, also the portrait modes are playing a big role, and here the Find X8 Pro is a clear winner with much more natural colors, much less over sharpened look, where the Magic 7 Pro has this new haircut mode, but the haircut mode is like adding too much sharpness in there. The colors are a bit too yellowish mostly of the time on the face, and it's the global model. It's not the Chinese model, where maybe people could argue Chinese people like more yellowish kind of faces. I would say no, first of all. Second of all, no, it's the global version of the Honor here, and it is not doing a good job when it comes to the portraits. Still, one of the Achilles features of the Honor is the portrait mode, which doesn't do a great job. Video recording quality is surprisingly poor on the Magic 7 Pro in comparison to the Find X8 Pro. First of all, it also suffers from this more yellowish kind of face issue that I don't see on the Magic 6 Pro, by the way, but yeah, another comparison will definitely come there. And it's much better on the Find X8 Pro. Zooming in, zooming out, for example, zooming to the maximum, zooming back to 1x, nice animated on the Oppo Find X8 Pro. You almost don't see the switch of the camera lenses, where you see it on the Magic 7 Pro with like white balance for a split second, changing completely when switching to the ultra wide angle, for example, then catching up again. Such things should be of the past, and I'm not sure why the Magic 7 Pro still suffers from it. Autofocus performance on both is relatively the same. There's not much of a difference. Front camera, I gave them both 4.5 points, which is, I think, a slight downgrade on the Magic 7 Pro, because the Magic 7 Pro doesn't have any autofocus more on the front camera, and at night it was also not performing as well as I would want it to be, even though I think we have a larger sensor still on the Magic 7 Pro, and sometimes it is beating the Find X8 Pro also at daylight. I think, especially bokeh, portrait for example, effect much nicer on the Magic 7 Pro than on the Find X8 Pro, but in general I think both offer the same quality in terms of portraits, in terms of front-facing camera. Camera UI, I like a little bit better on the Magic 7 Pro. For example, if you turn on the timer, you have the possibility with one click to turn off the timer, where in the Find X8 Pro you have to go into sub-menu to turn off the timer. Such things are much easier to use on the Magic 7 Pro. Also, the one-handed use is much more optimized on the Find X8 Pro. My daughter is agreeing, I think. And then extra features, basically both the same, 4.3 points. And we have the Pro video mode there and the movie mode on the Magic 7 Pro, where in the Find X8 Pro we only have a movie mode, which is far more limited on the Find X8 Pro in comparison to the Magic 7 Pro. So there maybe the Magic 7 Pro has a slight advantage. What does it mean for the ranking? Let's take a look at the ranking lists. You can see that the Magic 7 Pro is like one rank over the Magic 6 Pro only. You can see the main difference, my daughter is also agreeing, I think, the main difference is the main camera sensor, which is much worse on the Magic 6 Pro. Is that really the case? Because they're using the same sensor here. Yeah, the optimization on the Magic 7 Pro are much closer towards what we have on the Magic 6 RSR. This is why I think this is an improvement there. We have an improved ultra-wide angle on the ultra-wide angle there on the Magic 7 Pro. It is wider, I think, on the Magic 6 Pro. At least it looks a bit better on the Magic 7 Pro. But I will test, of course, the Magic 7 against the Magic 6 Pro. First of all, I have the Magic 7 Pro against the Magic 6 RSR, but then I will also test against the Magic 6 Pro to be completely sure, especially when it comes to the zoom shots, because here it, on paper at least, looks like a downgrade. The Magic 6 Pro has 4.4 points, where the 7 Pro has 4.2 points. Maybe it has something to do with the optimizations. I have to recheck both to be completely sure. Video recording quality, you can see both 4.4 points. So yes, the Magic 6 Pro was a bit softer in general there. Didn't have so much yellowish kind of face, I think, but I have to check them again. Autofocus performance is the same. Front camera was better on the Magic 6 Pro thanks to the autofocus, which helped in certain situations. Camera UI and extra features are basically identical, as you can see. So very close together, the Magic 6 Pro against the Magic 7 Pro. Do we really have this big improvement in terms of main camera photo quality, the slight improvements in ultra-wide angle, and the big disappointment in zoom camera photo quality? I will do another comparison where I will compare the Magic 7 Pro against the Magic 6 Pro. And there will be also a comparison against the Magic 6 RSR that is way up higher here. But as it's my main device, I had it with me. I did a comparison with the Magic 7 Pro as well, just to be sure. And yeah, the more comparisons, the better the ranking will get and the more accurate it will get. You know that already from me, that the more I compare, the better the ranking system will get here and the more it will be cleaned up. In general, I'm a bit disappointed by the Magic 7 Pro, the same as with the China release, where I was a bit disappointed here. Yes, they did some upgrades there. They have added AI for better zoom camera photo quality, but it is not there yet with the bunch of the other ones. If you compare it with the OnePlus 13 that had been released at almost the same time in China, Xiaomi 15 Pro, Find X8 Pro, the Vivo X200 Pro, the Magic seems to be doing the worst here. So what's your opinion? Write it down in the comments. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.